Hey friends, welcome back to Thrive on a Line Healing Podcast. Sometime I'm gonna have to consider changing the name. It's so long. You never think about that when you're picking a name for something and then you like have to write it out or like share it with someone. Like, why? Why did I pick this long of name? Why did I not just pick one word? Notes to self, right? Yeah, you learn as you go. That's part of being an entrepreneur. It's all the fun little mistakes that you make or decisions that you're like, why did I do that? Why did I pick such a long company name? So, anyways, welcome back, guys. I want to talk about this week creating a life that you want and betting on yourself. This is kind of dovetails last week's episode about the 3 things that changed my life. So, creating a new life can be scary for us, right? Our brain, our primal brain is wired to love consistency and familiarity because familiarity and consistency historically to us as a species that before housing, we lived outside in the elements. We lived with other wild animals, right? And when we were familiar with the territory that we were in, we could, our brain had patterns that it could recognize. So if we would look out over the field or in the forest and we were familiar with it, we knew what every little thing kind of looked like from a broad sense. So if there was one pattern off, which our brain loves to, it's very good at recognizing patterns. If there was something off, it could easily spot that. And because something being off historically could be a life-threatening threat, right? If you live in an area where there wasn't any lions, there wasn't a life-threatening threat in terms of lions. But if you looked out over the horizon and something was off, which your brain could pick up on very quickly, and this thing happened to be a lion, those decisions in that next few minutes meant life or death for us. So familiarity was really a safety mechanism for us. It kept us safe. It kept us able to navigate hostile environments. So of course our brain loves familiarity. Of course our brain loves consistency. Both of those things equal safety, which equals survival for us. Those things haven't changed in our brain. We have a more evolved brain now because we have more evolved technology. And our prefrontal cortex is kind of where we get to in this 2022, in this part of the human story. We really get to spend more time there because we don't have as many threats to our survival as we historically have had. We live pretty comfy. We have homes, we have food, we have water, we have clothing, right? You think about our ancestors, like they did not have daily access to food. They did not have daily access to clean water. Shelter was whatever you could find or whatever you could kind of haphazardly put together. Those things were not the luxuries that we have today. So we don't have to spend as much time in our primal brain. We get to spend more time in our prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex is all about planning and dreaming and goals and creating new things, creativity. That's where being in that, excuse me, prefrontal cortex is what has allowed us to create the lives that we have now. It's for new things, for new inventions and new technology and all sorts of the things that we have now came from was somebody's prefrontal cortex. Primal brain does not do that. Primal brain is all about survival, period. It's driven by 3 different things: seek pleasure, avoid emotional and physical pain and suffering, and utilize as little energy as possible. So the primal brain is in the limbic system. Okay, that's where it's kind of housed at. And those 3 things is what drives it. It's also very connected to your nervous system, the fight and flight, or the rest and digest, parasympathetic and sympathetic systems. brain has not shut off. It is still needed because we do still have threats to our survival. Except here's where it kind of goes a little haywire. Because we don't live in such a high survival threat society, our brain is not able to distinguish between real threats to your survival and stress. It's the same for your brain. Your boss being very demanding on deadlines is just as threatening as if you had a lion stalking you outside your window. Your brain interprets it the same way as a threat to your survival, because stress is stress is stress. Your body doesn't know the difference. Stress is, let's dump some cortisol, let's dump some adrenaline. There's something that's threatening our survival. Well, your boss having a deadline is not going to kill you, right? It's not threatening your life, your physical life. It's just a stressful event. Your body's reacting to it as if it is a life-threatening event. So that is not where we create things. That's not where we create a new life for ourselves. That's where we survive through our life. And there is a lot of us. We've done almost 20 panels with clients because our clients come in, we give them a neurotransmitter, a hormone, and a cortisol panel. All of them. Not one has come back normal so far. Men, women, Canadians, Americans, doesn't matter ethnicity. Not one has come back normal. It's because we live in such a high stress world. So here's where all this goes to. Most of us are living in stress, which means most of us are living in our sympathetic nervous system and functioning out of our primal brain. Primal brain, sympathetic nervous system does not create a new life for you because it cannot make high level decisions. It makes survival decisions, period. It lives in the moment. How do I survive in this moment right now? How do I alleviate the suffering in the moment right now? And so that's where you see lives that get stuck and they just loop and loop and loop and that same suffering over and over. And then because we're suffering so much and we can't get our way out, we start adding in buffers. Buffers are things that make us change emotions, right? I don't want to feel this anxiety. I don't want to feel this stress. So I'm going to check out. I'm going to watch Netflix for 4 hours. I'm going to go to social media. I'm going to go smoke some weed or drink alcohol or eat or do retail therapy, sex for some people, right? Those are all in and of themselves fine things, but they become buffers because we're depending on them for dopamine hits. And when we use them so much so to kind of numb ourselves out, check out, distract ourselves, and we use this on a regular basis, they begin to start producing net negative gains. What do I mean by net negative gains? When you overeat, emotional eating, every day for months on end, you're going to gain weight. And so being overweight is a net negative gain due to buffering with food. And you can see why it totally makes sense why we do buffer, right? We're stuck in these survival loop cycles. And when we don't have access to the part of our brain that can make the higher decisions because we're living in survival. So then we just start going to like, okay, if I'm just going to survive, then how can I suffer less? How can I distract myself from this current suffering to feel better? And that most of us do that because we don't have the tools on how do I get out of this, Kim? How do I move out of this like stress loop cycle, survival cycle, so I can create the life I want? We're not given tools on how to process emotion. We're not given the tools to understand where our thoughts come from. And most are just subjective interpretation of events. We're just doing the best we can with what we have. So I want to just validate you on that. You are literally doing the best you can right here, right now, with what tools you have. And that in itself should be enough to give yourself a little compassion. Again, you're doing the best you can right here, right now with the tools you have. If you knew better, you would be doing better. That is human behavior. It is not you. You're not broken. You're um, not capable, inept, not smart enough, not too lazy. It's none of those things. You just don't have the right tools to help you to get where you want to go. That's it. It's not that you're not trying hard enough, not working hard enough, none of that. It's just you've got a spoon for a job that needs a shovel. That's it. And you get to go get a shovel. There's plenty of shovels. Okay. So when we can move to a place and we can understand that to create a new life for ourselves, we have to, at first, our first step is to bet on ourselves, to take a bet on us, to move away from these models that I'm not worthy to invest in, right? Can't spend that kind of money on myself. Not worth it. Probably will quit. I may not, this may not work for me. You know, I'm not a person that, like, I've tried other things, I just didn't get it. Didn't get the results I wanted. Like, you move past those things and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna bet on me. I'm gonna bet that when given the right tool, I could create the life I wanted. I just been trying to create the life I wanted with a spoon over here. And I thought that's all I was had available to me is a spoon. But what if you were like, you know what? I'm gonna bet on me. I'm gonna bet on me and take a chance on me. That maybe if I could get a shovel, I could change things. I could get a different career than what I've been kind of longing for secretly, admiring and the others do. Then maybe I could do that and be successful. I could start my own business. I could follow the dream of becoming this and actually become it. I'm going to take a bet that maybe I could actually be successful if I had the right tools. That I could be a person that creates multiple 6 figures, 7 figures a year. That I could be the first one in my family to become a millionaire, to create a business, to graduate college, to move away, whatever it is, right? But you gotta bet on you first. It's just gotta be a decision. It's a decision. You gotta look at your life and say, you know what? I'm just not gonna settle for this. I'm not gonna do mediocrity. I'm not gonna settle just for average and slowly just trudge through life till I finally get there. Hopefully God will have mercy on me at some point, or I just die. And I'm just not going to do that with this life. This is my life. The things I've been doing have not been working because I'm not fulfilled. I'm not happy. I'm not experiencing my dreams. I'm just living and wanting and wishing. So I'm willing to take a bet on me. And when you're willing to take a bet on you, then your life starts to change. Because then you start looking for tools. I'm still going to use the analogy of the spoon and the shovel. You start being willing to, like, okay, I'm just not going to use the spoon anymore. What else could I use other than this freaking spoon? Does somebody else have something other than a spoon for me? Somebody might hand you a hoe. Somebody might hand you uh, a post hole digger. Somebody might hand you a spade. Somebody's going to hand you a shovel. You may have to try the other things. It doesn't mean that you didn't work. They were better than that spoon you were using, right? But as long as you keep betting on you, you're going to get to the shovel. It's when you quit or you don't take a bet on yourself that you live this stuck life. It's filled with disappointment. It's filled with overwhelm and anxiety and unfulfillment and stress and chasing one external dopamine hit after another to be left with disappointment and still stuck where you are. You've done that. We've all done that. There's lots of people that live their lives doing that over and over and over until one day they've taken their last breath. That's the reality. Netflix has a show Wednesday. I really love it. And my husband says I have a lot of qualities of Wednesday, which is very funny to me. Because black is not my favorite color, but of course, I'm a Scorpio. I'm born on Halloween. I deal in reality of I know every day is one more day closer to my exit. I happen to believe that my last day here on earth, that day and time is already decided. And my life is just ticking forward towards it. And I'm okay with that reality. It is reality. Byron Katie has a quote that says, when you argue with reality, you lose but 100% of the time. I'm not going to argue with reality. I understand. With every hour that goes by in my day, that's 1 hour I am not getting back. That is 1 hour I am closer to my death. Same for you. It's reality. So what are you going to do with your hours? What are you going to do with your days and your months that you have left? Are you going to spend them just surviving? Just kind of repeating it? You can. You get to do that. But what if this was it? What if this was the best part of the journey is life here? I don't know what your religious beliefs are. It doesn't matter. And I know a lot of us have been programmed that, like, growing up in Christianity, that heaven, right? Heaven is better than here. We just got to grind our way through here to get to heaven. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But if you lived in maybe it's true, maybe it's not. How do you want to spend your days here? Because what if it's not true? What if heaven's just another stop and it's not better than here? What if here gets to be as good as heaven? Because you create your own heaven or hell here. So what do you want to create? You get to change your life. You don't have to wait around on anybody else. You don't have to wait around on a deity. You don't have to wait around for whatever. You get to start and change your life. It gets to be different for you. If it gets to be different for me and thousands of other people, because I have thousands of colleagues from the life coach school, if we get to have different, you get to have different. You have permission. I'm giving you permission. You get to have a different life. You get to change your life. You get to have a job that's fulfilling for you. You get to have the business that you want to run and own. You get to have time freedom. You get to have financial freedom. You get to have health over disease. You get to have relationships that are nourishing and supportive. You get to have a partner that you love and adore and loves and adores you. You get to have a life that has adventure. You get to have a life that's filled with travel, if that's something you want. You get to have all those things. The only reason you don't have them is because you tell yourself that you can't have them, or that they'll have to come later, or that somebody else will have to give them to you, or you'll have to have permission. That's it. So when you're willing to take a bet, you bet on you, and you're willing to like go all in on you, and you know what? I'm going to invest in me. Instead of putting money in this 401k for the next 3 months, I'm going to put it in me. I'm going to invest in me. I'm going to invest in my brain. I'm going to invest in my health, whatever. Isn't that what you want to do? Like, who wants to invest in a 401k, grind your way there, suffering every day in your life? Then we get to like 70, where you can finally start drawing on that 401k. Not very healthy because you've lived a life of stress. Have all this money, have this 401k, but you can't go do things you want, can't go travel, can't do all those adventures. You can't go hike Mount Scott or hike 14ers, travel to Bali or an ashram. Can't do any of those things because your health. You got all that money. Why don't you take some of that money and invest it in you? Bet on you. Invest it in your health now. Invest it in your brain now. That's what I love about coaching. I have spent at this point tens of thousands of dollars, over $30,000 in my brain. And my brain has already created enough value to make that and more back. I started coaching in 2019, people. This is 2022. And I've already made more than my investment back by now. No 401k does that. 401ks have a 9% return rate over the lifetime. This is over at this point, over 100%. It's over. Hear that. 100% return on investment. Instead of invest, I'm not telling you not to invest in your 401k. It's funny that humans will do that. I'm not telling you to do that. But I'm telling you, why don't you take some of your damn money or your time and invest it in you? Because what if you bet on you and you created a much higher return on investment in you? This is not about me asking you to invest in coaching. If that's what you want to do with money, do it. I 1000% encourage you to do that. Be the best investment you've ever made. You will definitely get a return on investment. I mean, mine's over 100% return on investment at this point. And what, 3 years? Do it. But I'm not saying that's all you have to do. Like, just take a bet on you. Bet that you can have a different life and you can change it. I'm around thousands of colleagues from the life coach school who have changed their life. They have become 6 and 7 figure earners. Some of them have become one of my coaches, Vicki, I'll give her a shout out. She does Time Hackers, which is a wonderful program. She made $250,000 in 1 month of her business and worked 15-hour weeks. She has 15-hour work week pioneer or 15-hour work week mastermind now. She teaches you how to do it. How to work 15-hour weeks. The woman's done it. She has so much time freedom and she has financial freedom, right? All my clients, go listen to the interviews, with all my clients. I can't remember. It's like 126, 127. Listen to them. You don't take it from me. Their lives have completely changed. Completely. Some of them have doubled their income. Some of them have started businesses. Some of them received promotions within 6 weeks of coaching. Some of them have a completely different relationship with themselves and they're living the life that they wanted to live for so long. It's because they were willing to bet on themselves. They were willing to bet on themselves and that they could have the life that they wanted and they could change their life. And they took the first step betting on themselves by investing in themselves. It'll change your life, friends. It'll change your life and it'll change your legacy and it'll change generations. You just got to take the first step and bet on yourself.